Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden economic forces behind our everyday shopping habits. I mean, have you ever stopped dead in the middle of a grocery aisle and just wondered, why did I actually put this in my cart? Well, today, we're stripping away the mystery. We are looking at the fascinating mechanics of human behavior through the lens of microeconomics. Specifically, we're zooming in on the concept of demand. Let's start with a scenario literally all of us have faced. Deciding whether or not to hit buy when a price just suddenly jumps out of nowhere. Think about it. If your go-to morning latte suddenly costs twice as much tomorrow, you'd probably pause, right? Maybe you'd buy it a little less often, or, maybe you'd finally switch to just making coffee at home. That instant mental calculation you're doing right there, that is economics in action. You're actively participating in the marketplace, rapidly calculating utility, price, and your own personal budget, all in a split second. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by decoding the core concept, then we'll explore the actual drivers of demand, look at different types of related goods, map out some schedules and curves, and finally, unpack the famous law of demand. All right, section 1, decoding the concept. Let's figure out what demand actually means. So true economic demand isn't just wanting something. Like I might really want a private jet, but that definitely doesn't mean I contribute to the actual economic demand for one. For true demand to exist, you have to be both willing and financially able to purchase a commodity. And there's a kicker here. It has to be at each possible price during a specific period of time. So if you have the cash but don't want the item, there's no demand. On the flip side, if you desperately want it but your wallet is empty, again, no demand. It's really that exact intersection of your desire and your purchasing power. Moving on to section 2, drivers of demand. What actually shapes the market?
So, what actually drives your individual demand, and by extension, the larger market's demand? I mean, why does a product absolutely fly off the shelves one week and then just collect dust the next? Well, while your personal shopping cart is mostly driven by the price tag and your own income, the overall market is shaped by much broader forces. For example, if a market has a larger population of women, you're obviously going to see a massive increase in the overall market demand for specific things like lipstick or certain styles of clothing. Similarly, market demand is super sensitive to seasons and weather. The literal second that winter chill hits, the demand for woolen clothes and heavy jackets just skyrockets. So we're talking about macro-level shifts here, based entirely on the size, the composition, and the environment of the population.
But hey, it's not just about what's happening right now. Even future expectations play a massive role in our current behavior. Think about it. If you're watching the news and you hear petrol prices are expected to shoot up next week, what do you immediately do? You rush to the gas station to fill up your tank today, right? There's this direct relationship between the expectation of a future price change and the actual change in demand right now, in the current period. We are basically constantly trying to outsmart the market, and in doing so, we actually end up shifting the market demand ourselves. Okay, section 3, types of related goods. Let's talk substitutes and complements. Let's break down these relationships. First up, we've got substitute goods. These are products that fiercely compete to satisfy the exact same want. Think Coke and Pepsi, or tea and coffee. If the price of Coke suddenly spikes, well, you're probably going to buy Pepsi instead because it just became relatively cheaper. That means the price of one substitute good has a positive relationship with the demand for the other. Now, on the flip side, we have complementary goods. These are a joint package deal. They're goods used together to satisfy a want, like cars and petrol. If the price of petrol goes to the roof, it suddenly becomes way more expensive to operate a car, so the overall demand for cars actually falls. In this case, the relationship is entirely negative or inverse. Your personal income also splits goods into some pretty fascinating categories, specifically normal goods and inferior goods. Just think about your own grocery habits right after you get a raise at work. A normal good is something like full cream milk. As your income goes up, your demand for it rises. The income effect here is totally positive. But an inferior good, something like toned milk or maybe instant noodles, behaves in the exact opposite way. As your wealth grows and you can comfortably afford more premium options, your demand for that inferior good actually drops. It's honestly a brilliant reflection of how our changing financial status literally alters what we consider valuable. Moving right along to section 4, schedules and curves. This is where we visually map out demand. To visualize all these everyday choices we've been talking about, economists use something called an individual demand schedule. If you look at it, you'll notice a super clear pattern. As the price of a commodity steadily drops, say from 5 rupees down to 1 rupee, the quantity you demand steadily increases from 1 unit up to 5 units. It's basically just a table showing exactly how a falling price acts as a giant magnet for your purchasing power. Now, when we take those exact same numbers from the schedule and plot them out on a graph, it transforms into this famous visual representation called the demand curve. Because of that inverse relationship we just saw, where dropping prices lead to higher quantities, the curve forms this downward sloping straight line, going from left to right. And here's a pretty cool technical detail for you. The slope of this demand curve actually measures the steepness or flatness of that line. You calculate it by just taking the absolute change in price and dividing it by the change in quantity. And that brings us to Section 5, the fundamental rule itself, the law of demand. So, the law of demand basically states that there is a strict inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. But why exactly does this happen? Well, the primary driver is this fascinating psychological concept known as the law of diminishing marginal utility. Basically, this means that as you consume more and more units of a commodity, let's say slices of pizza, the satisfaction, or the utility, you get from each extra slice goes down. Because your satisfaction is dropping with slice number 4 compared to slice number 1, you're only going to agree to buy more units if the price is cheaper, just to match your lower enthusiasm. Now, it's also driven by the substitution effect, where a suddenly cheaper product draws you away from its pricier rivals, and the income effect, where a drop in price suddenly makes your current income actually feel larger, which obviously allows you to buy more stuff. Now, here is the really crucial point. This entire economic model, the downward curve, the predictable schedules, the law itself, it all relies on one absolutely massive assumption. You'll often hear economists throw around the term ceteris paribus. It's a Latin phrase, and it basically just means keeping other factors constant. See, the law of demand only works predictably if we assume that all those other drivers we talked about earlier, like your income, the current season, your personal tastes, if we assume they all stay exactly the same while the price changes. Obviously, if your income magically doubles on the exact same day the price of coffee doubles, well, all bets are off and that whole curve shifts entirely. So as you navigate the marketplace tomorrow, whether you're buying a brand new car, just grabbing a coffee, or trying to choose between Coke and Pepsi, I want you to ask yourself, what invisible forces are really guiding your hand to the checkout line? Is it the law of diminishing marginal utility kicking in? Are you maybe anticipating some future price hike? Or has the price of a complementary good just secretly shifted your entire budget? You see, understanding demand isn't just about reading dusty textbooks. It's really about decoding your own daily life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the economics of your world.